Alright, like I said, we'd be right back, and we're right back again here. Of course, we're on wrestling mode now. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Elite here, or at least this variation of it. Well, maybe not so much just the Elite, but just AEW in general, because I think there are a lot of things that have been said in just recent months. You know, especially given the fact that, if we're being perfectly honest, I've loved what they've been doing this year. I really have. Now, has it all been perfect? No, not by the slightest. In fact, I mean, you can only expect so much because, of course, when it comes to the WWE, you know, even under the leadership of Triple H and, of course, Nick Khan and others, the product is significantly better, and the business as a whole is vastly better than it's been in years. Yet, not every show, not every piece of content, programming, or whatever is just going to be knocked right out of the park. That's just not how it works. You know, if it were that easy, then, you know, I would like to think, one, we'd still have WCW. We'd probably still have ECW for that matter. But not only that, I would also like to think that just maybe life would be different in general. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe I'm going a little further than I need to just to make this point, so my fault on that. But I say all this simply for the fact that with everything based on how, what was it, Double or Nothing ended Sunday night, I am probably as optimistic, maybe even more so than I have ever been, about the direction that AEW is going. Now, there's an awful lot of argument that the lack of storytelling is still an issue. That's true. But I feel like they did a pretty good job of it Sunday night. Now, if that can continue and carry over in ways that they're capable of doing, I think that we're on to something, and the potential of it's there, especially when you've got returning stars like MJF, ultimately Adam Cole, and specifically down the line also, speaking of the Elite, Kenny Omega. So, you know, just with these additions of obviously Kazuchika Okada, Will Ospreay, and Mercedes Moné, you know, I feel like we've got something special going on right now. And speaking of something special going on with the company, I also want to talk about this young lady real quick as well, in Chris Statlander, who had one of the most standout moments of the night, I think, although it probably wasn't as strong as it needed to be. It wasn't built the way that it needed to be. Although, if you read between the lines properly, I think we've actually seen this coming for some time. I mean, let's think about this a bit here. The whole way through, when Stokely Hathaway worked his way into the picture, you know, it was quite obvious what the objective was at that point. He was driving a wedge between Stat and Willow Nightingale. And, of course, it didn't seem like it was working, and it didn't seem as if it was working, or as if it was going to. I botch again, I know. But, yeah, I mean, it seemed like the story was probably dead in the water, but I think, in reality, it actually worked out a lot better than what we thought, because you got Stat moving to the side to go after the TBS title, which she defeated Julia Hart for, given that Julia Hart was the one that took the title off of Stat to begin with. And, of course, from there, you know, everybody's all buddy-buddy between Stat, Willow, and Stokes. So, if nothing else, I would say all of this went perfectly according to plan, and not enough people are talking about that. And I can't understand why. But this is definitely going to be significant, and I'm looking forward to what we can see with Miss Statlander here. I guess I got to do it that way now. See, I botched, But in all seriousness, I think this is significant for a variety of reasons. One, a lot of people have criticized AEW for the lack of direction when it comes to the women's division, as they're arguably the deepest women's division in all of professional wrestling right now. But more than anything else, what they're doing with it is very, very vital, and that's just been proven over time, but it's going to be even more so now, and she's going to have an awful lot to do with it, mark my words. But we're going to move along from one women's division to another, or at least of sorts to some degree, and we're going to kind of transition back into some AEW talk as we go here, just as a heads up. But, man, is this ever being talked about? And here's the funny thing about this. I've talked about this quite a bit. I'm at a bit of a disadvantage going off of Hulu Live because I don't see Monday Night Raw until 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, okay? So, really and truly, I've actually been trying to get myself to bed. Say what you want about that, all you want, but, I'm not seeing a lot of what's happening here. Of course, we're talking about the Kiss, not necessarily seen around the world, but talked about worldwide for sure, And I say all that because it's just funny that I talk about that. Even if I would have stayed up to watch Raw to the end, I wouldn't have seen it anyway. So it's like, damn, that's just wild how all that works out. But, I like this because now you've got Liv Morgan as the Women's World Champion. Of course, this is greatly elevated by the fact that you have the storyline going into King and Queen of the Ring on Saturday, where that narrative was just Liv never beat Becky, or just couldn't beat Becky. But she did when she needed to, and that's definitely where it's huge, and I just can't say enough about this. I mean, at least nothing aside from, I think the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour is complete, and now we're on to something else. It's just like Cody finishing the story. We're on to a new story, a new tour or something, and it seems it may end up involving Judgment Day at this point. But the thing about that is, to get there, we needed to go here to Becky Lynch, who again, Liv Morgan had to beat her for the championship on Saturday. Now, why is this important to be talked about? Like I said, I brought up AEW as still a part of this conversation here for a reason. Now we got a new bidding war of 2024. And it's not quite the summer yet, but we're close enough to it. Now, why I say all this is because the man's contract here is set to expire. I think they said it was June 1st. I don't know, somewhere in the next few days or within the next week or so, her contract with WWE is set to expire. Now, I bring this up, and I really wish I'd have found a picture where there were just dollar signs all over the picture with her in it. Because, yeah, now the word is she could command the biggest payday in women's wrestling history, or at least in women's wrestling today. I'm probably off base with either of those, but we're talking about possibly the highest paid woman in all professional wrestling here coming up. I mean, let's think about that for a moment. We're talking about obviously higher than what Charlotte's getting paid, because, that's what Mercedes was trying to get, was that Charlotte money. She had to go to AEW to get that. I'm still not even sure on the exact numbers of that deal. In fact, the only numbers that I've gotten on any of those new AEW signings was, of course, what was revealed about Okada for $14 million, which is really interesting, you know, that's as high a number as it is in this particular business. But, you know, to think that might be the neighborhood of what Becky Lynch may be drawing here, whether it's with AEW or WWE, I mean, damn, like, you know, it's like, I just kind of, I just thought about this too. I've been developing a recent mentality about these sort of things. I guess a philosophy, if you will. You know, and it just, ironically enough, it actually pertains to Rhea Ripley, interestingly enough, speaking of the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour. But, well, there are those of you, if you've been on Twitter, you've seen the picture, of course. Just particularly a picture of Buddy Matthews with Rhea Ripley on the beach. I'm going to leave it at that. And, you know, just, I say that specifically with the thought in mind. And this actually, I got a reference, the WNBA's Candace, or excuse me, not, well, of course, Candace Parker. I mean, she's a very lovely woman, but she's already accounted for. But I was thinking about the Chicago Sky rookies in Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso. Both of them are ridiculously gorgeous, you know, and much like Rhea, and of course, much like Becky in Seth Rollins' case, we're talking about women that if you're ever able to be that lucky dude, man, don't even play the lottery. You've already won. You've literally already fucking won. That's all there is to it, you know, and that's all I can say about that, because, you know, this is like the walking lottery ticket right here, you know. And the only other thing I'm going to say about it is this: I don't know what's led to this whole thing to where there hasn't been a deal yet reached as far as, you know, Becky being re-signed to WWE, because obviously Drew's been re-signed, and you would like to think a lockdown point for Becky is the fact that they've re-signed Seth as well. I mean, none of them are world champions anymore, but they're still locked into very, very lucrative contracts as far as what I know, or from what I understand, rather. But one way or another, I would like to think they would have that favor for all of those reasons, on top of the establishment that she has with WWE. But at the same time, maybe Tony Khan decides to one-up Triple H and Nick Khan on that, and just throw her a bag that, you know, WWE's just looking at that WWE TKO endeavor. They're all up there like, no, but like, how do you not, though, is my question. I don't know. I mean, I guess we're gonna find out here in the coming days at the very least. Hopefully sooner than that, especially, oh god, with it being this close to the expiration date of a contract. Like, wow. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, your big winner, Becky Lynch. And it's as simple as that. Thanks for rocking with me.